the Atlanta Hawks made a huge splash when they traded Luka Doncic to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Trae Young and a future first-round pick. I covered the Dallas side of the draft in a previous video and thought it would be only fair to cover the trade from the Atlanta Hawks side of things. Plus, Trae Young absolutely balled out in the Las Vegas Summer League after initially struggling in his first Summer League stint. But the community remains split on whether or not Young will be a star in this league or whether he will be a bust. And those that think he has the potential to be a star are split on whether or not he resembles Steph Curry or Steve Nash. This video will cover the trade and the future of the Atlanta Hawks, as well as detailing the future of Trae Young and what I expect to see from him during his time in the NBA. And let's start with the analysis on Trae Young himself. He was perhaps the most polarizing player in the NBA draft, with one of the highest bust potentials and also one of the highest superstar potentials. The explosion of Steph Curry to superstardom in the NBA paved the way for players like Trae to be more recognized in college and end up going higher in the draft. When Curry dominated the NCAA tournament for Davidson, many simply presumed that he wouldn't be able to translate these skills to the NBA due to his size. Doubters thought that the physicality of the big league would affect Curry's ability to generate space and get to the rim. If this had have occurred, Steph would have been way less efficient as a player. But due to his incredible skill and speed and overall underrated athleticism, Steph showed that this style of player wouldn't just endure NBA-style basketball, but would in fact change the NBA itself. Threes have become even more essential to teams' offenses due to their higher value and the efficiency it creates. And young players in high school and college have begun to emulate this style and ride it to success. And Trae Young is perhaps the most explicit example of this replication. He pulls up for deep threes, takes them off the dribble, and knocks some of the toughest shots down with regularity. At the same time, he is an incredibly quick player who can get into the heart of a defense and make plays at the rim or dish the ball out. It is for these reasons that people compare Trae to Curry. And while all of them matter, I think people predominantly focus on the three-point shooting when it comes to making these comparisons. Trae's three-point shooting was never ridiculously efficient in college. He shot the ball at 36% from deep. But the reason why people went nuts was the games where he had 5, 6, or 7 plus threes. And some of those were eerily similar to Steph, pulling up from the logo or pulling up from deep after coming off a high pick and roll. Some lament these style of shots, saying they are less efficient than normal threes and are detrimental to the team. And while there is no denying that they are less efficient, they still aren't harmful to the team. Guys like Curry and Young can hit these deep shots at a clip higher than 33%, and this makes them worth 1 point per possession. This benchmark is high, as essentially worth the same as shooting 50% from a shot worth 2 points. These possessions also have the added benefit of not resulting in as many turnovers. When Trae, Steph, and Dame Lillard shoot these shots, they tend to be early in the shot clock. There is little passing to be done or dribble penetration. Therefore, they can maintain possession and ensure a shot gets put up as they minimize the risk of a strip occurring. But the main benefit is the gravity they also create. Defenders have to scramble out way further than they are used to in order to get a hand in their face. This in turn creates far more space in the paint, and this extra space makes it easier to hit a player around the free throw line for them to drive or hit an open jumper. And if the ball handler does get past their man, they have the extra time to make decisions due to the extra space. This gravity is so important to team spacing in the NBA, and is why teams value guys who could fly for lobs and will put up with having Ryan Anderson on the court despite his lackluster defense. The NBA is no longer about who can score the ball in the post or in isolation. It's become a game of analytics, maths, and stretching defenses, keeping defenders honest and letting the ball fly from deep. And Trae Young fits this perfectly. But while fans focus on his three-point shooting, Trae and his coaches will be focusing on his incredible vision and passing skills. Young himself stated that he sees himself as a player more in the vein of Steve Nash rather than Steph Curry, and you can see this on the court. Trae is fantastic at driving past his defender and keeping his dribble alive as he flies along the baseline. In this position, teams are usually forced to at least hedge onto him and have a second defender turn their back to the court and focus on Trae. This is when players can fly through the paint cutting or get open on the perimeter for a three. Steve Nash was an absolute master at hitting these players with bounce passes, lobs, and bullet passes with one hand. Trae Young has shown the ability to throw all of these passes from the baseline in college and in Summer League. And it appears that maybe his best NBA skill is his passing and not his shooting. Young has also shown the ability to hit some blistering passes in transition, threading the needle through the air and hitting some fantastic bounce passes that reach their target without the running player needing to break their stride. But most importantly, Trae has shown the capacity to make good reads out of pick and rolls. He is so quick and deft that he creates a little bit of space to force the defense to rotate. Then he can get the ball to his big man or his shooters quickly and easily. Trae showed in his second summer league stint that he has the ability to hang with NBA athletes, and I think long term he'll make a great NBA point guard. And this makes the move to trade down the draft look at least decent in hindsight. While I think Doncic has the highest ceiling, the Hawks got a future first while also getting a talented player. And 2 shots to hit an all-star level talent is usually better than 1. Plus, the Hawks clearly rate John Collins very highly and see him as a great fit at center. He is athletic, has good hands, and has shown the potential as both a shooter and a defender. For this reason, I think they were keen to avoid a big man in the draft as they look to develop an NBA roster based in a modern style. The Hawks look like they want to build around a shooting and passing point guard, an athletic big man, and then surround them with wings who can shoot and defend, with any extra creation ability from the wing being a bonus. Trae will be the point guard that they envision driving the offensive weapon they want to create. His shooting, speed, and passing will be able to run a high-level offense if given the right tools around him. And it is clear that the Hawks plan to do this as they traded Dennis Schroder to OKC in exchange for Carmelo Anthony and a future first-round pick in 2022. Schroder was on quite a big contract for a player of his skill. He was getting paid $14 million a year and became apparent that he would never be a starting caliber point guard on a contending team. Last season he averaged 19 points and 6 assists, which looks decent until you realise he shot 29% from 3 and only just above 40% from the field. This shows a guy who can't shoot at an efficient clip when given as many possessions as he likes. He was a lead option for a tanking team and didn't crack 20 points a game whilst on bad efficiency. It shows that he likely won't be more than a backup guard or a starting 2 guard on a championship team. And for his contract, he simply wasn't worth it. Waiving Melo to create cap space and getting a future round pick for him is great. It will open up minutes for Young this year, cap space for the future, and gets them a future talent to develop in 2022. But Young won't be without guidance as he has the support of Jeremy Lin in the locker room. Lin recently was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Hawks in exchange for a second round pick and draft rights. This deal was made with the intention of securing a solid combo guard to go alongside Trae. Lin can play point guard and shooting guard and has been fantastic as a second option in terms of guard play when sharing the court with Kemba Walker and James Harden in the past. He plays solid defense, can shoot threes, set his teammates up, and is lightning when cutting and driving to the hoop. It is yet to be seen whether or not he'll have that same speed following his recovery from injury. But either way, his presence on the court and in the locker room will help Trae immensely. Teams are prone to trapping and pressing up on young point guards to force them into making turnovers. Lin will be able to create a release valve for this pressure and can come up the court to catch the ball and take advantage of the space if teams put too much pressure on Trae Young. It won't be a perfect solution to this problem if teams persist, but it should go some way to helping. And Jeremy will have no problem deferring to Young on the court when he is hot or if he proves himself as a young star. Teammates at all stops along Jeremy Lin's career have lauded him as one of the best teammates in the entire league, and his words of wisdom will be fantastic for Young's development. It will also be an opportunity for Lin to play serious minutes and try to earn a bigger contract for next season. He was finally fairly valued on his last contract, but was struck down with multiple injuries and has hardly seen the court. It would be fantastic to see Lin return to form and earn himself another contract with a contender to finish his career. Jeremy would be fantastic as a 6th or 7th man on a contender, or even the second starting guard to go on a team like OKC. And the Hawks will want this. Both guards playing well will help Young, but it won't result in them being a good team. Because let's face it, the Hawks don't have much talent outside Collins, Taurean Prince, Bazemore, Lin, and Young. And while this is a decent starting 5 for the future, they aren't experienced enough to win, and any injury will seriously cripple them. But this is good, as it will allow the Hawks to hit the bottom of the standings while still fielding an entertaining young team and giving them the minutes they need to develop. Hitting the bottom will allow them to grab a top draft pick and complete this young core and hopefully develop into an Eastern Conference playoff team. This seems to be the way it goes for the Hawks. They don't have the market to attract big-name free agents and need to build through the draft and smart trades in order to construct a contender. This is the case for so many teams, and you can see the effect around the league. As soon as teams that aren't in huge markets slip from the playoffs, they ship off their good players for assets and clear the cap books. Then, they take on bad contracts in order to gain draft picks, while having the side effect of making them one of the worst teams in the league, which in turn allows them to select high in the draft. Sam Hinkie and the Philadelphia 76ers were one of the first teams to employ this strategy and has seemingly caught on around the league. The Hawks have a few of their pieces, but will need to continue this trend if they want to put together a top team. But Trae Young looks like a fantastic piece to go alongside Collins and Prince, and if he resembles anything close to Curry or Nash, he'll be integral to any success in Atlanta. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more NBA videos in the future. And let me know in the comments what you think of Trae Young and the Hawks.